I think we hear the word community like that. We hear it so often, we think we have it. That doesn't really change anything. And it's certainly not the picture of community that Jesus has in mind, especially in John chapter 17. Just before going to the cross, when he was looking up into heaven, Jesus fervently prayed that God would take his followers and he would unite them in such a way that their unity and love would be this magnetic force to everyone around them, this attraction. I'm picking up with Jesus' words in John 17, verses 20 to 23. My prayer is not for them alone. My prayer is not just for the disciples. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. And that's ultimately us, isn't it? I pray for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I've given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one, I and them and you and me. May they be brought to complete unity, to let the world know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you loved me. Now that's community. And the good news is that's the vision of community that we have here at River City Church. That's our vision for community. The bad news, of course, is that there's no magic wand that you can take out and wave and make this kind of community instantly appear. The type of community that Jesus is painting for us in John 17 is hard work. We saw that in the dramatic video that just came before I came up here. And I'll give you another example. You know, usually when there's a situation where we have a friend and we feel there's something we should say to that friend that maybe would help them live a more holistic life, that maybe would help them to release something that needs to be released and embrace something that would give them greater joy and purpose. Usually there's a bit of doubt there, isn't there? Let's see, I may be right about this, that there may be a sin in their life or a blockage, but then again, I may be wrong. I don't know. And so every time that we're in a situation like that, there's a choice that we have to make, isn't there? Will I be a truth teller and take a chance? Or will I remain silent? Truth teller or not? Will I have the difficult conversation around this issue that I perceive in this person's life? Or do I let it pass until I'm 100% clear? Which, by the way, usually never happens. And so we have to make a choice. Now remember, this vision for community that Jesus paints for us in John 17 and what we're aspiring for and building and working for in River City Church, there's no magic wand to just take out and wave and make that happen. We create the community we want. You and I. But there is another choice that's available to us. And it's a choice that I've taken too many times in my own life. And that's to avoid. Rather than take a chance, we reason with ourselves that we have to be 100% sure before we can have that conversation. And so we avoid it. And it goes something like this in our heads. That's just who they are. They'll never change. And then they're not going to take it well if I do talk to them. They'll probably get mad, probably make a scene. Besides, who am I to criticize them? Many of you have probably heard of an author and pastor named John Ortberg. His wife is also a pastor. And Nancy Ortberg calls this attitude mindless love. Mindless love. And she characterizes it this way. She says, you know, you're just going to really love them and not say anything. You're just going to love them. You know, like the friend whose marriage is also falling apart almost because she's not able to be a truth teller to her friend whose marriage is falling apart. Mindless love. What happens when we choose mindless love? What happens when we say nothing? Well, then we create in ourselves, we create in our community, sameness. And sameness can only result in artificial harmony, pseudo-community, in which nobody changes and nobody grows. It's what Leonard Sweet calls the digression of Christianity to Niceanity. Christianity becomes Niceanity. And it ought to make us sick. What's interesting is when you avoid it, when you choose to say nothing, a grudge starts forming inside you. It may be small at first, but like the friend in the video, it's going to get larger over time. The longer you bite your tongue, the longer you resist the Holy Spirit's prompting, a grudge will start forming in you. And grudges almost always result in gossip. Because nobody likes to hold a grudge by themselves. And so we always do it together with other people who agree with us. And then we make our own little group. And that is not okay. It's not okay. Not for community. True community is hard work because in order for true community to be achieved, each of us must necessarily change. Each of us must necessarily change. I'll have to learn to trust others. I'll have to stop making assumptions about that person. I'll have to rearrange my schedule so that I have time to actually spend with that person so that real relationships can form. I'll have to get vulnerable with others. And when it's my turn to tell the tough truth, then I'll have to change and I'll have to be courageous. I'll have to take a risk. And I'll have to give others the opportunity to tell the tough truths to me when it's time. And when they do, I'll have to resist the temptation to get defensive, to make excuses, or to turn it into something that's about somebody else. Change is hard. And the kind of change that I'm talking about here this morning is kind of the hardest change of all. In my own life, and I'm not there yet, this is the tough stuff. This is graduate level growth. But there's a payoff. And the payoff is this, that the change that results from this pathway brings you more purpose and fulfillment and joy in life than any other change that you can work towards in life. The payoff is great. And when you've seen it once, when you've seen it twice, even just a little bit of it, you're never satisfied to settle for anything less again. Once you've seen the Rockies, you'll never be blown away by the hills of Putnam. It's the difference between community that none of us wants, but thinks that we're stuck with, and the community that together we create, that's absolutely transformational and magnetic. And people come, and eventually there's standing room only because that's the transformational power of the community that has Jesus Christ at the center. If you're older than 30, if you're 30 or older, you'll probably remember when President Bill Clinton was impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives. It was December 1998. The charges, perjury, obstruction of justice, and so forth, arose from the Monica Lewinsky scandal and the Paula Jones lawsuit. These charges were brought to light by independent counsel Kenneth Starr. In President Clinton's case, Kenneth Starr was the truth teller. Kenneth Starr was President Clinton's Nathan. Now, can you imagine former President Bill Clinton naming one of his children Kenneth Starr Clinton? Fat chance, right? Guess what David and Bathsheba named the third son to be born to them? That's right, they named him Nathan. Nathan. And that's the line through which Jesus came through Mary's side. Naming his son Nathan was David's way of expressing thanks to Nathan for having the courage to speak the tough truth.